sending samples out is a little bit like lending money to family. You have to be financially, not necessarily emotionally, but you have to be financially prepared to take that loss. Hey, party people. Two things. Number one, my book is done. It's out. So is Design Journal. So if you want more information on that, check the description box. I got links to a video talking all about it, and I got links to how to buy it. Number two, today's video comes from a request left in the comment section of an older video. Do we need to send physical samples of the entire collection to every brick and mortar store / boutique store, along with the line sheets for them to place orders? Or do they just place orders by looking at just the line sheets and catalog photo shoot of the collection? Especially for a new brand trying to do wholesale for the first time. How does that work? And then they go on to ask about the function of showrooms in general. And that is too much for one video, but do let me know in the comments if you want a video on the function of showrooms. Okay. So first of all, do not send your entire collection to any brick and mortar store. Do not. So real quick, let's start by talking about what sales materials you need to put together for your fashion sales, for your brand, okay? My background is in design. It is not in sales. I've never worked the sales end of things. However, I'm a designer who has prepared sales materials for showrooms, for traveling sales reps, regional sales reps, that sort of thing. That's where my experience comes from, okay? And so I have prepared line sheets. I have prepared color cards. I have prepared mailers. I have prepared lookbooks, postcards, that sort of thing, okay? And these are the things that you prepare for your salespeople. Okay, so line sheets, I'm just going to describe them really quick. I have a whole video on line sheets and how to make one. Basically, line sheets show flat drawings, your technical flats, drawn on Adobe Illustrator, and they include ordering information like style number, description, fiber content, available colorways, wholesale price. Optional things include a style name. Some people find style names more memorable, so they'll include style names, but style numbers are mandatory, okay? Because that's how you communicate with your factories, okay? And an MSRP, manufacturer's suggested retail price, okay? So you can kind of give it go ahead and take your wholesale price and multiply it 2.2. So you're giving them kind of an idea as to the price it's going to be in a store, okay? And that's a line sheet. Color cards can go with your line sheet. Okay. I prefer that over other ways to express the colorways because you're really feeling the fabric. You're seeing the true color as opposed to sitting there on Adobe Illustrator trying to be like, is it a more tomato red or is it but you're really expressing the true color. And I mean, the costs, it really depends because doing color printouts of line sheets, like hundreds of line sheets for a trade show is like very expensive, but also, having an inter sit there and pink out swatches and staple them to cardstock, like that's also a whole nother thing. And you're going to need some yardage of that. So whatever you want, if you have more time versus money, okay, that sort of thing. You also need an order form. So you want the line sheet, the order form, and the color card kind of folded up together. They go together. Okay. Back in the day when things were done more on paper than online, we used to do these mailers. We used to create a lookbook. And these lookbooks did not necessarily have every single style, but just the best, what we thought were the most attention grabbing, the most beautiful styles. And we took photos of those and we put them into these little booklets. And then we, on one side of the booklet, it was addressed. It had all the mailing information. It was closed together with a little cute clear sticker and mailed out to stores. We've also done postcards, like one beautiful editorial image from our photo shoot mail those out to stores. So those are some of the things that you can do in terms of getting attention from stores, sending out information about your new collection that do not have anything to do with sending out samples. When you do a lookbook photo shoot, okay, you really want to maximize, multi-purpose the whole thing. So for lookbook photos, you want the focus to be about the clothes and how they look. Okay. And that means whatever the backdrop is, it should reinforce the vibe of the collection and the brand without distracting. So if the best you can do is a white backdrop, so be it. A gray backdrop, a brick backdrop, whatever. Okay. The clothes should not be styled in such a way that it's hard to see what the individual garments are. You should not be styling your clothes with a bunch of other people's clothes unless you are a single item category and you are doing something really nondescript. I used to work for an outerwear brand, and we did not make any sort of pants or skirts. And we used to buy just super nondescript, like gray trousers, really boring looking jeans, so that, the men could have something to wear on their legs when they were wearing the jackets, right? So something really nondescript so that the focus is on the garment that you're selling, okay? The poses of the models should not be distracting or posing the clothes in such a way that you don't know how the garment looks. So while we all love a Linda Evangelista, Italian Vogue, like upward angled, legs kicking in the air, skirts flying, wind blown, we love all of that. Yes, we do. But that's not lookbook stuff. That's editorial stuff. Now, do you need editorial stuff? Of course you do. You want to have some really cool images, first of all, for that postcard you want to send out. You want those really cool images for your website homepage, something really eye-catching, okay? A girl standing stock still in a dress, not particularly eye-catching, okay, but something that really emphasizes your brand story, all those things. So those are sales materials that designers supply alongside the samples. Of course, you're making the samples. That's the number one thing. But those are the sales materials that designers need to prepare for their salespeople. So let's talk about salespeople and sales avenues. Okay. Number one, you have in-house sales, where you have someone in the office and they are a salesperson reaching out. And let me tell you something. Buyers do not like talking to designers. Okay, for those of you who are like, I'm just going to do it myself. Listen, unless you come from sales and you really know how to talk sales, buyers do not like talking to designers. Because and listen, I'm a designer, so this is going to sound like I'm talking smack about designers, but I am talking about myself also, okay? Right? Designers, they'll say things like, I was so inspired by, the new Wicked movie coming out. Ever since I heard about it, I started fantasizing about the clothes and the costumes and the singers and how everything is gonna, buyers don't care. Okay? Buyers don't care about your inspiration and the journey of discovery towards the end of your collection, and nobody cares. Okay. They might care if you're like a huge name. Like they probably want to know what John Galliano was thinking when he designed a particular collection, but your average designer, they don't care. They want to hear what sold best last season. They want to hear things like, you know what? Pink has always been a top seller for us. So we're doing pink again. It's a new pink. It's a different pink because it's spring. It's a fresher pink, but we're doing pink again because our customers love pink. So don't forget to buy that in pink. They want to hear those facts and figures. They want to know what the top sellers were so that they can have those best-selling pieces in their stores so they can make money, okay? So that's why they like talking to salespeople. Okay. So you can have an in-house salesperson do the sales for your brand who reaches out, but you want to hire a salesperson who has an exciting Rolodex. And those of you super young people who are like young enough to be my children, okay? You don't know what a Rolodex is? Rolodexes used to be a thing where you held all your business cards. So like all your contacts were in there, okay? And it's one of those things that's just kind of like stuck in my mouth. Like, so you want a salesperson with a lot of contacts, big wide network in the price point you need. Okay? It does not matter if someone is really highly connected in, teens and juniors and tweens in those markets if you're doing menswear for grown up dudes, like fully big age adult men. Like there's no crossover there. Okay. So you need someone who has worked in your market before and has a network in your market. And that's true of like whatever sales avenue you work towards. Okay. So in-house sales, you'll be doing everything in-house. You'll be doing your own trade shows. Okay. And preparing for that, like all in-house, that sort of thing. Okay. All orders, negotiations, event planning, all of that will be done in-house. Number 2, you can have traveling sales reps or regional sales reps. Okay. They go around city to city. They meet with buyers. They make appointments and they take a trunk full of samples. They'll book a posh hotel room and like have a whole viewing event and invite buyers and, have tea and cakes and have the racks of clothes and maybe hire a model for the day. Like they'll do events, and they will be catered to the region. Okay. I used to work for a company. We had regional sales reps and, they all want different things. Okay. The people who are, trying to buy jackets for the South, for the deep South, they don't have the same needs as, people who live in the Pacific Northwest. Okay, the kinds of jackets that they're looking for, jackets, coats, outerwear, waterproof, because they get rain and fog and sleet and it's colder versus the deep South where they just want something light, something that looks nice. It's like a little chilly in the winter, but that sort of thing. Like every region needs different things. And so if you have a rep that's going around the country, you're not going to pack them up with everything. You're going to pack them up with things that particular region needs. And if you have regional sales reps, you don't even need to send them the full line either. You're going to send them like the things that the South needs versus, what the Pacific Northwest needs. You can send them a lookbook with all the things and line sheets with all the things and, fabric cards with all the things. But, they're not going to be buying a lot of those huge bulky sweaters or long johns. You could contract a showroom. Now, a showroom, they're typically based in a fashion capital. There's a bunch in New York, a bunch in LA, that sort of thing. And they are basically, they are your sales agent. And you contract them out. You don't get to just pick a showroom and be like, hey, I want to show with you, take my stuff and sell it. Like they have to want you back. It's a negotiation where they're like, oh yeah, you fit the vibe. We think you'll sell well. Your line is beautiful and we want to rep you, that sort of thing, right? And they will typically have a whole collection in their showroom on display for any buyers who want to come by and take a look at the samples. And so they will typically get the full line of samples. Okay. And so, this whole like, how many samples do you need? Well, it depends on what sales route you go through. And, you don't need like a million sets of samples. Like as you get bigger, And as you get more well known, you're going to find you'll need like other sets of samples because more people will be requesting them for editorials. You'll have more salespeople. Maybe you'll have a second showroom in a different city. So as your business hopefully grows, your need for more samples grows. But please do not make 100 sets of samples so you can send them out to 100 different stores to get their business. You'll never get those samples back. For one, sending samples out is a little bit like lending money to family. You have to be financially, not necessarily emotionally, but you have to be financially prepared to take that loss. You have to be financially prepared to never see that money again, because you might not. Okay? That lending money to loved ones is a tricky business. You might not see that money again. And you have to be very careful when a store asks for a sample, how many samples they want, the kind of samples they want. Because listen, if something was like, oh, it took you $50 to make one and they want to try it on, whatever. But if you have a dress and it took 30 elves 700 hours while making up Disney songs, staying up all night to make that dress, maybe you don't send it out without a contract saying you'll chase them down with, pitchforks if they don't return it. Okay, you should have these kinds of contracts anyway. And that's why you want an experienced salesperson to help you negotiate. And here's the thing. Here's what I can say without getting into legal trouble. Experienced salespeople know the stores that will return your samples and those that won't. Okay? If your salesperson loves you, they'll tell you like, oh yeah, they're fine. They're great. They always return stuff. They're good. And it won't smell like BO either. Okay? And they'll know who's just like, oh, they want to borrow a dress for an event and it's going to come back with a stain on it. Like they know. Okay? They know. The same is true of magazines, editorial, like people who pull for editorials. Okay? You definitely want a paper trail when you're sending samples out for editorial use. All of these sales venues, they can go to trade shows. A showroom can go to a trade show that is of their price point. All these trade shows, they all have their own market. Okay? And a showroom will be like, oh, our market is coterie. That's like contemporary. And they'll take all the lines they rep to coterie with them if the line wants to go and if they're chipping in the money, whatever. And so they'll want to send a line. They'll want to send, the showroom will want to take a set of samples. They'll want to take, packets of line sheets and order forms and mailers and all that thing. Maybe they'll want posters, ads of, your line, so they can make posters for the walls of the trade show, that sort of thing. So that's why you do want to have a few editorial photos taken of your collection that are just not like straight up boring lookbook shots. Okay. And you could do that in-house. You could just take your brand and send your in-house sales, send a regional or traveling sales rep. You could do it with your showroom. Okay, these are all ways you can do that. Runway shows are not sales events. Okay, they're marketing events. Nobody writes paper at a fashion show anymore. Okay, if a buyer is interested in looking at your collection for their store, they will make an appointment with someone from your sales department or with your showroom so they can look at the clothes up close and check it out without the lights and the flash and all of that before they make their purchases. There are plenty of successful brands all over the world at all price points who don't do a single runway show and do business just fine. Okay, so runways are for marketing. Keep that in mind when you're budgeting. Okay, runways are for marketing. One last thing about wholesale. is many wholesale accounts will not work with you unless you have your own sales venues, meaning you have your own online store. Okay. Those of you who are like, oh, I want to do wholesale and D2C, like you are selling on your own and you have that experience with customers, experience running your own store. You've got a few seasons of sales under your belt. You have those numbers. Sales is about data. Okay. Sales is about data. And so you have those numbers where, oh, green, our customers love a Kelly green, love a bright green, love a grass green. Green is not a huge seller elsewhere, but our customers love green. Like they want to see that kind of data. They want to see what kind of sales you're doing. And so they're not going to open an account with you or buy from you unless you've been doing your own sales for a little bit. And so while you're pursuing wholesale, you should also have your online store selling your own stuff. I have a whole, chapter on fashion sales, wholesale versus D2C, and how to price for those kinds of things in my book also. I have videos on that also, like a whole fashion sales. I have a lot of those kinds of videos. You should be selling in your own online store anyway. There will be times where a big online store, like Nordstrom, they want to do their own photo shoot, their own lookbook photos in the style that they want with your samples. And that should come after they've placed the order and they're getting ready to post these items on their website. So if they've already placed an order for those sequin pants, make sure there's a paper trail, but you can go ahead and send them those sequin pants so they can shoot it for their lookbook. Okay? But that's different from, willy-nilly sending a bunch of samples out to stores in hopes that they will find it exciting. Okay? Please do give this video a thumbs up if you learned something new today. Share, subscribe, all the ways you show me love. Go check out my book, Fashion School in a Book, and its accompanying design journal. And I will see you in the next video. Oh man, I should have checked for lipstick on my teeth before I started shooting.